Hello everybody, this is my presentation on Charlie Chaplin and his influence on 20th century film. And yeah, Charlie Chaplin, the man, the mime, the legend. Um, Charlie Chaplin is potentially one of the most famous characters from the early 20th century, and has had a profound impact upon cinema. He crafted one of the most recognizable characters to ever be in film, and he just greatly impacted the industry and was there at an interesting time when it went from silent films to what are known as talkies or speaking pictures. His life. Charlie Chaplin was born in London, England, and lived with his mother, brother, and father, but when he was just 10 years old, his father passed away very suddenly, and he was forced to provide for his family due to his mother's deteriorating mental condition, amongst other things. By the age of 12, he was both of his parents were professional actors and singers, so he did obtain some of those skills from growing up in an acting, performing family. And by the age of 12, he was part of his first professional acts, in a manner of speaking, and he became a comedian in vaudeville, which is that middle picture there, early on in his career. And then when he was just 20 years old, he finally got his first break and was able to come to America to film his first silent picture. And that is what began his love affair with cinematography. And yeah, the picture on the left is Charlie Chaplin dressed up in his iconic character, which is known as the Tramp or the Little Tramp, or in many other countries it's known as the Charlotte. Now we're going to dive into that a little bit. The Tramp. The Tramp was an interesting character that Chaplin created. One day he was sitting, he was exploring in the costume room for a production while it was raining, and he just grabbed certain things that were completely contrasted to one another. As you'll notice, he has a very, very small bowler's cap, and he's got a size 15 shoe that he's wearing. Just the juxtaposition of small and large was something that makes you laugh by just simply looking at it. Another way he did that was he would wear these really baggy pants with a tiny tailcoat, because then it gives an idea of being fancy and being grandiose, but at the same time being silly and lighthearted. He would wear suspenders to keep his pants up because they were so baggy. And then finally one of the things he would do also is use his bamboo cane, pictured here. It was actually very bendable, so it had really no purpose other than looks, because as everybody knows, a cane is used to walk, and if you have a cane that bends, it serves no purpose. So it was kind of one of those gags along with it. He also did have what is known as a toothbrush mustache that was very dark, and it was supposed to be for a villain in a production, and he just took it and they put it on for one of the first films he was part of, and it just kind of stuck. Another form of contrast that he had with his character is he would use white makeup on his face. It's not just because it was black and white. He would use white makeup juxtaposed against the black of his mustache and eyebrows, accentuating the most expressive parts of the face, and leaving everything else for you to kind of imagine. It was very smart for the time. His most famous work ever, potentially, is actually his first talking piece, and this was The Great Dictator, in which he satirized Adolf Hitler. In this, there were a couple certain parts, for instance, where Adolf Hitler, the great dictator, takes the globe and he begins playing with it. And this is right after he goes on a tirade of how he needs to get rid of all the brunettes, and he's talking about women, and it's kind of in a jovial, joking mood, of course, but he's talking about how he hates the brunettes and how he wants all the women in the world to be blue-eyed blondes. And then, of course, joking about the Aryan race a little bit, making light of it, if you will. But then he begins to play with this balloon globe, and he begins to bounce it and throw it in the air, kick it, and just kind of toying with it, as did Adolf Hitler, very symbolic. And then the last minute, he finally takes it and hugs it, and it explodes. Very symbolic of you can't just do whatever you want with the world, because you will have a serious, serious impact. This final picture, or this picture on the right, is actually the final scene of the movie, where the great dictator, or Adolf Hitler, gives a speech, and he says essentially that he doesn't want to be a dictator, and he starts pointing out all these social injustices that were present in society. This was very, very huge, because in Chaplin's first talking movie, he decided to call out the Nazi regime, essentially, and to call out the flaws in humanity. It was very, very powerful. Scandal, controversy, and victory. Chaplin had a very storied life. He got exiled from America because there was supposedly connections between him and the communists, and we all know that America was very afraid of that back in the day. And also, there was a lot of controversy over his sexual partners, because he liked, for the most part, underage women. He was a textbook sex addict, and it played a huge impact on his life. It was really traumatic in a lot of ways. This is him and his family at the end of his life and career, after he had victory over that sexual addiction. This is one of the quotes from the great dictator, and it reads, "More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent and all will be lost. The way of life can be free and beautiful." And I think that is really what Charlie Chaplin wanted. He wanted to expose, he wanted to open people's eyes to what is good in life, and he wanted to take people's pain and make them be able to harness it and laugh at it for just a minute. And he really wanted people to concentrate on what is beautiful in life.